Yeah.
Okay, cool. That's how I set it up. I just want to make sure.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Bonus Point Podcast. Thank you for tuning into the first episode of our Major League Rugby Update Series for 2021. I'm your host, TJ Olsen. Just before we introduce our guest analyst, I just want to take a moment to thank our sponsors, OsteoStrong LA, Whalebird Kombucha, and Macro Butter. Don't forget to get your 10% off your Macro Butter purchases with the code Bonus Point. So without further ado, let's get stuck into the podcast. I can't do this alone because it may be a bit weird with me having a chat by myself. I may do that in the house, but that's just for me. So I got some friends to join me. Please welcome to the show the guys from the Rugby Index, as usual, Cam and Walker Tice. And we got the big guy, Scott Ferrara from the Rugby Rant podcast joining us as well. Welcome, gentlemen. How are we doing today?
Doing well.
Lovely. Got a bit of yard work in this morning, so I'm ready to go.
It's nice out, baby. It's looking good.
Yeah.
There you go. That's good.
First time it's been like above 45, and I can't TJ, you don't understand that, but Scott definitely understands that.
Oh yeah,
in most climates, in most climates I go to, it's either like super cold or it's just like perfect weather. So it's either one or the other.
I'll get a message from TJ. He goes, "Oh, it's 47. I got to put a sweatshirt on." I'm like,
well, it's like a t-shirt.
I need to get my top nice and warm, so I can keep my lungs nice and warm. But then I'm walking around the house with shorts and what I call jandals or slides or flip-flops or whatever you call them. And then my father-in-law is sitting there going, "What the hell are you doing?" And I was like, "This is the New Zealand way. You just keep the top heavy and then you just keep the rest flowing. It's all good." But Scotty, I want to come to you first with a two-part question. Get you on the hot seat straight away.
Oh, Jesus.
How excited are you to be have the MLR back and Rooney's chances now that they've signed one of the greatest halfbacks to ever play the game in Andy Ellis? How are you excited for them?
All right. So overall, I'm excited for the MLR in general. For those of you that don't know, that haven't seen the Rugby Rant podcast, me, Rob, and Ty have been doing it since 2020. We started right as the season started, and then the season ended, and it was hard to get content, but we pushed through it. So right now to be a week away is amazing. And I like Rooney's chances. I think the East Coast teams have a lot of parity. I think you're going to see a lot of teams that the matches are going to be tight. You're going to see a lot of teams lose games away. I do think there will be a home field advantage for certain teams because of the attendance policies and things like that. But I do think Rooney make the playoffs, and I think they make a solid push. I'm not going to lie. I don't know. I'm not excited for Andy Ellis, not because I'm not excited about being a player. No. So not that I'm sorry, but they got a group of young guys that get me excited. And don't get me wrong, I got to see Andy about 2 weeks ago in a scrimmage, and I mean, he made his side of the team he was on better. Don't get me wrong, but we've seen him do it. I'm so into it. I get excited for the new guys. So I have a bunch of things. We'll get into it. I
was very close to calling blasphemy because you talk about Andy Ellis like that. Oh man, you get me heated.
I mean, I got into it on our friend Brandon Smith's podcast with Rob about how I don't give a shit about the British and Irish Lions either. Like, I understand what it is.
Well, I understand that as just a New Zealand fan, so I agree with that.
But I mean, it's just something that as I'm geared towards certain things. And again, Andy's a great dude, but it's not blasphemous for me to say it because
Fair enough. Okay, I'll pay that. But I am in agreement with you. I'm always excited as well for young guys to come up through the ranks and prove their worth. And especially if you can have a guy like Andy Ellis, who is a seasoned veteran, who can be challenging those guys and helping them develop. 100%. I love that. So Cam and Walker, it is great to have you guys back on the show. I have missed you guys. I'm not going to lie. Have been loving all the constant coverage of everything MLR via the Rugby Index. Cam, I'll jump to you first, and then Walker can round us off before we start off. What team or player are you excited the most about playing this season?
I think it's the one everybody's talking about. I guess we got a preview of it last night. The Giltinis. I just wanted to see, they got quite a bit of a head start with that bubble they created in Maui, and they've, have pretty star-studded roster, even though it might be a little bit older. I want to see how all these different guys blend together.
No, yeah, I definitely agree with that. I was pretty excited when I got to see them play in Oxnard when they did their inter-team trial match. It was really great. It was super cool. But yeah, Walker, round us off. Who are you excited to see this season?
I got to be honest, it's NOLA. I know the Hammer will be pretty happy about that, but I'm excited. I think they've been pretty active in the offseason, been pretty methodical in the offseason. Duplessis, Devin Short. They've just added to their team. I think last year they started off a little bit slow and traditionally are a team that built throughout the year. But I'm excited to see what they can do this year in the East.
Yeah, no, definitely. I can hear Rob from a mile away. He's sitting there just cheering on, hearing that. So, yeah, shout out Rob Hammerschmidt. I know how much you love your NOLA Gold. But let's get going with our first segment because it's still preseason technically. We got a few more days until it kicks off. So this first segment is going to be all about player signing. So there was a lot of movement in the preseason with new players, new teams, and obviously the collegiate draft as well. That was something that I really enjoyed. So I want to chat about the player signings we like for each team. So I will go full disclaimer. I did steal this layout from the rugby rant. I won't go and say that I created this myself. We split up the teams geographically and assigned 3 teams to each analyst today. So what we're going to do is we're going to pick one new favorite new signing and then one favorite re-signing. So I'm going to handle LA, San Diego, and Seattle. Walker's going to have Austin, Houston, and Utah. Cam is pretty mad that he has to deal with DC, ATL, and NOLA because he feels that he should be closer to what the teams close to him. But Scott is going to round us off with Rooney, Free Jacks, and Toronto. So Scotty, why don't you just kick us off today? Who you like in the season?
Oh man, so let's get hot, baby. So the new signing.
That's good to hear.
That's a tagline.
Oh, he's got to get it. He's got to get it. Like what is it? Trademarked. He's got to get it on T-shirts.
I'm contractually obligated to say it before I say prayers at dinner. The whole 9 yards. When I get in the car, I have to say it.
That's the most New York thing I've ever heard in my life. That is awesome. Yeah, go ahead.
My grandmother makes the gravy. She puts the meatballs in. I said, let's get hot, baby, to the meatballs. To make sure they get in right. You know, I know where my bread's buttered. But so as far as new signing for Rooney, I feel, and this is just based upon what I've seen. Apanisa, Kakabalavu, Fijian Sevens. The dude runs through any type of contact. When I saw him in the scrimmage, when he got the ball, I'm saying he was alone on an island with 3 defenders and did get stopped. But because his momentum and his legs kept driving, the support got there. And I think that's something that Rooney didn't have in their back line last year with some of their players. This kind of fits more in line with the types of players they have in their back line. The dude's a friggin' beast. I mean, he has a step, he has speed, and he has good defense. I saw him take down Henko Hermesites in the open field with no hesitation, and there's a lot of guys who would not want to do that and just olay him and let him go. I mean, Henko's like a bull. I mean, if you haven't seen our social media on the Rugby Rant or Rooster Boosters, he has literally taken down bulls by the horns, Henko. So it's amazing to see a guy just to go in and have that type of that aggressiveness to continue to play with the ball. As far as re-signings, my boy Will Leonard, I think again, this is another guy who plays in the back line, has a wealth of tools offensively to help him, but his defense is what keeps him starting. Mm-hmm. He'll hit anything. He attacks on the defensive line. He's one of those guys. He's a one and done. He will make a one-on-one tackle, take the person down, so that way the support can come in and jackal the ball. And you saw that last year. Nate Brakely would come in as the second guy and jackal that ball. Like I think he had like 40% of the time he entered a ruck, he got the ball away in 5 matches or something. So I think Will Leonard defensively, Appy offensively, those are my new signings and my re-signings for Rooney. So now we're going to go to Toronto. Here's the thing. I really feel like Toronto is actually in the Southern Hemisphere because they're playing in Atlanta, for those of you that don't know. So I should have just only had 2 based on regions. I'm just saying. I don't know why they gave me extra work. But Toronto.
Why even on my own show, bro, you're always calling me out for something, whether it's on social media, but I love it. It's good stuff.
Listen, this is the reason you have me on, because I'm kind of a little bit funny. You know, I'm like, I can't be a comedian, but I'm just funny, like around the guys.
Trial by volume. Trial by volume. Just throw everything at the wall and see what sticks.
No,
exactly.
That's if
I say it,
I'll take that.
Yeah, if I say it real fast and like I'm from New York, it gets an even bigger laugh. So, you know, but Toronto. So my new signing, Joaquin Toussaint, he's probably going to be playing fullback. Jaguares, I think, was since 2016. Mm-hmm. And then he retired from the Pumas last year. So I think not having that international duty, even though there really hasn't been anything internationally, but, you know, I can see a pressure of being on the Pumas and being the guy he was. kind of eating into his professional time. So I think not having that is actually something that's going to propel him as far as being a set piece in Toronto. You guys know it, you see it with a guy like Ben Foden on Rooney. If you have a guy back there who's confident, who's not just going to kick it out of reaction and actually going to see what the setup is before he makes a move, it sets up all of your counter attack. So I think for Toronto, that's something they needed. They need somebody back there who's just, again, reassuring he's going to catch the kick. He can kick it if he needs to, but I think he's going to run a little more and see what's going on. Re-signing Rob Brower prop. He's been with Toronto since 2018 in their exhibition season, and then started all the matches in 2019. Dude's a friggin' load of sexiness, man. 260 pounds. I think he's 6'3". He's the type of guy that you want in the front row. He's obviously bought into the system they have because he's been there for so long, and he can settle things down. You guys know, depending on what surface you're playing, what it's looking like for the weather, sometimes resets are just going to happen and you're just going to have those resets, right? He's one of those types of players that he chills out, he calms everybody down the front row, and when they do reset, there's not that urgency of, oh my God, we got to get this done. And I think that's what he brings to Toronto as far as their front five. And now to the Free Jacks, who again, I really don't like, so it's tough for me to do. So really, I think I should have just used all my time about Rooney, but that's another story. So re-signing, or I'm sorry, the new signing, Tara Matembu, was he playing for the Sharks since he was like 16 or 14 years old or something? Yeah. I think he started in 2010 until this year. Loose forward, I think one of the things he does for the Free Jacks, he brings a ton of experience to a pack that didn't have a lot of experience going into playing in the MLR last year because they only got 5 matches in. And don't get me wrong, they had a great first match against Rooney. They came out, they punched Rooney in the mouth, and then they kind of tapered off a little bit. And I think they kind of had that adrenaline dump the next couple of matches. And this is something that Tara's going to bring in, that professionalism that we have to play like this every game, no matter what, that I think they're missing a little bit in a young team. Who's next? Oh, re-signing. Kensuke Hatakayama, obviously, cherry blossoms in 15 when they beat the Box. I mean, first of all, who doesn't love him for just that? Secondly, dude's 5'10", 260 pounds, and just a mean prop in the scrum. There is no backwards for him. When he takes a step, he's gaining that ground. And again, he's setting up with a front row. And this is going to be the powertrain of their offense. They're going to be looking to hit that set piece and work off of it. A little less free flowing, and a little more, I guess, UK version of an offense. And those are my teams. Look at that.
Man, I gotta give you credit for the pronunciations alone. Just some of those names, you frigging crushed it, bro. No, but I think definitely the re-signing for the Free Jacks is one that really gets me going. When you hear that the Springboks lose, everybody gets excited. So it's good stuff. And hearing that he's yeah, I know, but it's and hearing that he's 5'10" and he's a killer prop. That gives me hope. I could still play in professional league. There we go. Awesome. Let's do it. But no, great information. Scotty, thank you for that one. Cam, you are up next. Let's go. What do you got?
Well, I would be unfaithful to my code if I did not start with a scrum half. So starting with DC, the one guy that I'm most excited about seeing returning is their 9, Danny Tusitala. Last year, he was probably one of the who was worst off for the shortened season, because he got off to such a great start. Him and Jason Robertson, their 10, were probably the best combo, 9-10 combo in the league. And they're both pretty young guys. And if they would have just had a full season, I think they could have rode that out into this season. So I think it'll be interesting to see how that really, are they able to carry it over? Or is there just too much downtime to, really build off that?
I think personally he will, because I know him quite well. I was coaching at Ponsonby Rugby Club when he was there, and I watched him come up through the Auckland rugby system. I watched him play sevens. I think you give him downtime, that's probably the worst thing you can do for him, because he just like sits there and he's just always developing his game. He's getting ready, and as soon as he gets the option to go back in, he's hungry, man. So I'm very excited to see him play.
Yeah, and I've seen him on a couple podcasts. He sounds like he's coming back with vengeance, like he's got something to prove, and he was cut short, which he absolutely was. then the newcomer I'm excited about is their number 8, Luke Campbell, Canadian. He's got 13 caps. He's also pretty relatively young. I think he's 25, 26, something like that. And, DC is going to quietly have one of the best back rows in the league, and I don't think enough people are talking about it. Pairing him with Jamison Fatanana Schultz, and then Mungo Mason's one of the best with ball in hand. Their flanker, I don't know if he plays 6 or 7 for them. I think probably interchangeable. But they also added Callum Gibbons out of the Glasgow Warriors, their connection to Scotland. But I don't know if they're going to put Campbell at flanker and bump Jameson or vice versa. But they're getting a very just well-rounded number 8 coming out from Canada for them. Moving on to NOLA, I think everybody wants me to say JP for this one, JP Duplessis for the newcomer. But the one I'm most excited is Juan Capiello, the Argentinian. I think he opens it up for everybody. He'll probably play that 12 role, which that puts JP in his natural 13, and I think he benefits best from that. And they added one of the best center tandems in the league, and the returning player that I think also benefits that staying in the centers is Carl Meyer. We saw him just absolutely dominate in the World Tens for the team out of LA. I'm forgetting the Rhinos. That's who he was playing with. He was a force. He looked like he was a loose forward playing in the centers. And I think he's someone who's going to play, or who's going to benefit most from those guys, whether it's coming off the bench and being the fresh legs and the finisher to come in and, get the ball out on a 13 and just punch it through for a game-winning try, or just setting up for a late conversion. But I think those 3 are going to set up very well for what NOLA likes to do, getting the ball out wide. And I know Cam Dolan's probably thinking he's a 13 too, but the way they like to get the ball out wide, that sets up very well for them. And then rounding it out, ATL, I think their returning player, a guy you're very familiar with, Scott, Chance Wagalewski, he's the face of that team right now for a lot of reasons. I think he's a local boy. I know he played for Life. I'm not sure where he's originally from, but local product in that aspect. So he's very much the face of the team, and he's a guy that's still on the U.S. player pool radar, and I think he's going to stay there for a long time. Staying in the front row, Jonas Petrakopoulos.
My boy Jonas, baby.
Pretty sad to see him leave Rooney, but I think he's
so pissed off.
Yeah, I think playing same thing. I like going in tandems. I think playing alongside Chance, that's a very good pairing for him. He's someone that I think had 2020, gone forward the way it should have. He's a guy that would, already be on the USA player pool, and playing alongside Chance is only going to, I think it's going to expedite him advancing into that pool.
No, bunch of great players that I'm excited, but I'm even more excited that it is a guy that was coming from Rooney to come to another team. So,
nah. Well, it's funny because I was gonna say somebody he missed for OGs is Ross Deacon. I mean, that dude, another guy with a motor on him that just goes forward, and he provides a spark, whether it's when he's starting or if he's coming off as a sub. When he's coming on as a sub, he provides a spark to an offense that you don't see in a lot of people. He comes out with energy, and he just friggin' flies for the OGs. But yeah, Jonas, man, in a year or two, I don't think you'll see him in the MLR. I think you'll see him somewhere else playing professionally. I got to be honest.
I can see him being one of those guys. I think we saw Toronto, but I think MLR is quietly but quickly going to turn into sort of and this is going to be a way that the finance the league is with player movements. Guys like Jonas who develop here a little bit and then are just unfortunate in a good way, too good for the league, and get moved on. And that's a way for them to put some nice capital into the team's banks.
You see it with a lot with club programs or with just various types of high performance programs. It's just pairing with other professional teams across the world and just getting that pathway program, you can get players to just develop and build their skills, and then they come prime time, they're ready for your team straight away. So yeah, I think it's going to be it's not necessarily something that MLR wants to focus on solely, but having that as a platform to get players overseas and potentially get them paid more money when they possibly couldn't get paid here, I see that's a big win, and just getting more exposure across the world. So yeah, it's going to be good stuff. But Walker, round us off, brother.
I'll just double down on that on a quick tangent. I think if there is a roster mechanism that I would like to see in the short term is a specific placement or tag for very young talent. If there's going to be an exception to the salary cap, make a couple of designated spots for specifically young talent so that you can bring them in, pay them, more money, make it financially incentivized for them to come over here at a young point in their career, and then you flip it around, and when you resell them, then the team gets the profit back.
Yeah.
So quick tangent on that. But we'll start out with Austin Gilgronis, the Orange Herd down there. Still not a fan of the rustic orange, but that's a separate conversation. Really excited to see Will Maggie back. Obviously, him at the 10-15 position, wherever he lines up, he's going to be really dynamic for them. His kicking ability just opens up the field quite a bit for them. And he's a really solid decision maker. Doesn't really panic with ball in hand ever, and is just a lot of experience. And I think he's going to be a linchpin that really, just kind of molds their team. For new signings, this was a pretty tough one because they were a really active team. Names like Bryce Campbell, Christian Osberg certainly are noteworthy. For me, I think it's the big 6'8" locks, Sebastian de Chavez. I probably didn't pronounce that correctly, but over 100 premiership appearances, and I think he's going to be in pairing with Cam Dotson and/or Christian Osberg. They're going to be a powerful second row, and I think they've got a pretty not the best, but a solid front row. I think their tight five is going to be really athletic this year and be able to get around the pitch. So I'm gonna stick with Seabass, but I think it's also noteworthy to mention that Connor Mooneyham, the original #1 overall pick, and the reallocation did end up with the AGs, and he actually got the start just yesterday in their final scrimmage against the Giltinis, and I think he's a guy to watch. I mean, he's got the size, he's got the athleticism. I think he's a great 15s wing because of that. And I think he just needs to grow into MLR a little bit. Obviously, the collegiate game to MLR is still a pretty monumental step. The game speed is faster, so we'll see how he adapts. Jumping across the state to Houston, re-signing. Anytime you can bring back your captain, Luke Beauchamp, it's a good day. A guy that really leads their forward pack quite a bit. And I think since 2019, keeping in mind that last year there were only 5 games, he has 21 starts. So just a consistent piece to their pack and their scrummaging. And they have been one of the better scrummaging teams in the league. So really excited to see him back. New signings, I'm excited to see Bronson Tellys, again, another guy that got moved because of the reallocation. A dynamic lock loose forward, an athletic guy that I think really fits their system of trying to get the forward pack around the field. And then similarly, a Nambian international, Adrian Busian, 24-year-old loose forward, comes over from the Curry Cup. I think a guy that has a really high ceiling, and much like what we talk about, guys that are coming in over at a young age, not quite his prime, but in 2 years could be a guy that you see going back overseas playing at a very high level. And so Houston, I can't put my thumb on them. I don't know where they're going to end up this year. I think they could be anywhere from really competitive and competing at the top of the West, or just not relevant at all. And I can't put my thumb on it one way or the other. Wrapping out my 3, Utah, re-signing Jerry Van Buren, Western Providence, Southern Kings expat, 8-man flanker. I just think he's kind of the heart and soul of that forward group. They do bring back two really good props in Angus McClellan and Franco Van Be- or Franco. And I'm remiss of his last name, but bringing both your props back like that is really going to help anchor your scrummaging and just your general forward play. But I was excited to see Utah be a little bit active in the free agency. They were quiet for most of it, but ended up bringing in Mikey Teo, which, gosh, I love the guy. I love watching him play. Deadly on the counterattack, really a physical runner in the counterattack. You can put him at 15. You can put him at loose forward or at wing. He runs like a loose forward. I've seen him play 9, so just a really dynamic guy that you bring into the back line. And then I got to give a shout out to Olive Khalifi. Good to see him back playing again.
Mm-hmm. I really liked Mikey in that Bermuda Tens tournament. He played so well in that, man. Like you just see immediately he's going to be a superstar in American rugby. And I really
he's been on the map so long you forget how young he is.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like I thought he was not necessarily a seasoned veteran, but he had a few years under his belt. But I think that it shows that it's guys like Patrick Madden. They obviously are very young, but they have a lot of experience because you don't generally see that in America. Guys who are playing since they were like super young, or guys who have had a few years to get those rugby sea legs. So definitely someone to look out for. I'm very, very excited to see him play as well. All right, so it's up to me, guys, to round us off. LA, as it's a new squad, I'm just going to go ahead and choose one back and one forward because there's no point in me trying to do it any other way. I think I'm going to get a lot of crap for this one because there's so many names that you can go to in this because it's just such a star-studded roster. I personally really like in the forwards Angus Cottrell. So he was a few years older than me in Brisbane. I watched him play rugby down the road at a rival high school and a rival club as well for West Rugby Club. He's an incredible flanker. He has almost 100 caps of Super Rugby to his name. He's still relatively young to make an impact in this league, and he can provide a lot to the younger players to the team. So I think from what I've seen from him over the years and just the impact he can bring as just an individual player, I think that will just start trickling down into the Giltini squad. In regards to the backs, same thing, man. Like I could go so many different ways with this, but me personally, I really like the homegrown feel, and I like DTH. So you've obviously got some amazing talent on the team who have got Wallabies or Super Rugby caps, but I'm very happy that a North American player is playing in the MLR, like one of the standouts. So I've watched him play for Canada, for Glasgow Warriors back in the day, and I'm excited to see what he can do for this team. And also, if you guys didn't see, the Rugby Rant podcast did a great interview with DTH recently, so go check that one out. Get a good insight on how he feels the Giltinis are going to have a crack this year, his career, that kind of stuff. For Seattle, I really like the signing of Ross Neal. I watched him play a bit at the Wasps. Really enjoy his playing style. He kind of reminds me of like a Josh Goodhue style of play. He's not flashy. He doesn't do anything too crazy, but he just does his role so well, and he bends the line quite well as well. He's just always in those perfect moments where he's hitting that sweet spot where he's coming through a gap and he's able just to crush it. For my re-signing, I'm really stoked that Shalom Suniula is back for another season. So he's obviously not necessarily a seasoned veteran, but I've known him for a while and his family for a while. He's been around the MLR since day one, and I personally, one of the other reasons I personally like the work he has done just to help promote the game in the US and grassroots rugby. So he's been a part of was it the Serevi Academy or things like that? And he's just, ever since he's gotten here, when he started playing for the US, when he came overseas, he's been all about helping that grassroots, helping grow the game because he knows how important that is. So also the Rugby 101 video, very well done by the MLR. I think that's going to be really great for the fans, especially who are new to rugby, because when you're trying to sit on the couch and explain a bunch of rules to people and get them to understand the game, it's not fun.
or you scream at them when they're sitting next to you at a match because they don't know what's going on.
Yeah, they're like
personally. But
are you sure? Are you sure that's not a disclaimer? I'm
It's
pretty sure that's you to a T.
You want a story from the big guy. I had season tickets to Rooney for 2019 and 2020. Unfortunately, we didn't have any matches in 2020 at home. 2019, whatever. It's a hot, June day or whatever, May day. I'm there, whatever. I'm talking to people. I'm having fun. I'm screaming at the referee. I'm pretty sure it was our boy Scotty, but he did something stupid, and I was just like, "Hey, you need them that Specsaver on your jersey, that advertisement on your jersey." And I get a text message like 5 minutes later, and my father goes, "Was that you yelling at the referee?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, "Yeah, that was completely heard by everybody on television."
Yeah,
so
I'm definitely not going to be one that I haven't had that moment where I'm sitting there screaming at a ref or giving someone crap for something. But I think I've toned it down a lot from my younger days.
Me too. I just felt
man.
I must have felt this was egregious enough to say Scotty Green needed.
So I think Walker and Cam could probably say this is that Huller and Scotty, probably the two similar personalities. Both of them have no problem ripping into a referee. So I can't wait to go and watch live rugby again with Huller, because he does not care at all. He's like, if you're doing a bad job, if you make a bad call, he's going to let you know about it because he's loud as hell. So we'll finish off mine. Lastly, for San Diego, my new favorite signing is just got to be Cecil Africa. Like I wanted to say Rob Shaw, but I've watched Cecil so much with the Sevens program, and I'm hyped to see him play because I want to see his transition from 7s to 15s and kind of see what he's going to do for the San Diego dynamic. He's great on the counter attack. He's able to find gaps very easily. Whether that's going to change a little bit with lack of space compared to 7s, I still think his athleticism is going to bring a lot to the game, and just his field awareness and his experience. And I think my favorite re-signing, I've got to end with a biased one. You know me, I'm a very biased person when it comes to guys I know. It's going to be Nate Sylvia. Nate Sylvia is a player. I coached at Cal Poly for a few years. He's a great mate of mine. I watched him grow so much over the years. He's still improving. I think the one thing that I can bank on is that the Legion are always going to be sitting there going, if we need a push, we can lean on Nate and a few of the other guys at scrum time. So I'm very excited to see him re-signed and play another season for the Legion. It's going to be a good one. But before we finish this one off, I'm going to give you guys one honorable mention each, because I know you guys have got pools and pools of information and guys you love. And Cam, I know how much you love an honorable mention. So Cam, I'll go to you first.
Are we doing it from the three teams that we've got here?
Anyone you want.
Oh,
anyone
God.
you want.
Oh,
yeah, there you go. See, this just opens the floodgates.
This is the bonus point.
Yeah, it's just one though. It's just one. I'm not giving you free reign. Just choose one.
Okay. All right, I'll stick with scrum halves. Nick Boyer moving out to LA. I thought there was a couple different places where he could have ended up. I'm interested to see how he fits into LA. He's an interesting guy because he's big enough to pretty much play anywhere in the back line, but he lines up at scrum half. And I mean, he's fast enough to play on the wing, big enough to play in the center. So he's a really interesting guy. But I'm glad to see that after, Colorado kind of falling out, and that he found a home in LA. So I'm really excited to see. He was a guy that always, kind of a day one guy with the MLR. I'm excited to see him have a new home and what that brings him.
All right, Walker, you can go next, and then Scotty can round us off.
I think I'm going to take a layup on this one, but Chris Robshaw and just I'm excited to see a guy.
That means he had 3 or 4 names that he was like he couldn't pick from, so he just went with Robshaw.
I mean, it's not a bad tactic if you're going to pick anyone. I think go on Robshaw. It's a good play.
Yeah, well, and I think it's a guy that look. We've had some big names, Ma'ananu. You look at Seabass and Ma'ananu's 38 now. Seabass came over way out of shape. And a Rob Shaw, a guy that comes in, and I feel like as much as he is just a massive name coming over, I feel like he's genuinely here to improve the league. He's genuinely here to compete. And, is he what he was at his peak? No, but can he dominate the league? Yeah. And is he coming here to offer some tutelage to the younger players and what is already a pretty strong Legion loose forward group? I'm excited to see him just pour all the wisdom onto Sam Wuching and Tommy Lau and just the rest of the guys with that Legion group. So Rob Shaw's my layup.
All right, big guy, round us off, brother.
Oh, this is so hard. I'm
homering. It can't be someone from Rooney.
Okay, well, then that
Whoa.
makes my decision easier. That makes my decision easier because I'm homering for a different reason. So I'm gonna go LA, Watson, Fili Kitanga. I know he got the yellow card last night with the AGs, but guess what? It's a preseason scrimmage and it doesn't freaking count. But I think he's a young guy. I think he's gonna go out there and he might not be the best technically, but he's a good free runner. You give him the ball, he'll make a step and go. I think with the team and the people that are on his team as veterans now, it's amazing. I mean, just again, like TJ said, the names. So I would pick Watson for my thing. But if I did have to pick somebody from Rudy, Connor Buckley. I think Connor Buckley is going to get more playing time than you guys really think at scrum half. And watching him in the scrimmage a couple weeks ago, dude came to the breakdown, looked at the ball, looked up in the field, made the decision, and made the play. There was no indecision. There was no indecisiveness. Whether it was the right play or the wrong play, his instinct was to make the play and get the ball out. And I think that's something that if you don't have it at the number 9 position immediately, then you got to think about a different position, and then you can teach him, and that can grow.
Yeah, no, I think the one thing we can.
Watson's younger brother of Lamoto, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever happened to him?
I don't know. But Watson and Connor are both Iona guys. Shout out to the Gales. They're making it to the NCAA March Madness dance. So.
Oh man, I'm excited for that. But yeah, I think the one thing we can agree on is yellow cards in trial matches, the funniest thing ever. It's great. Like if you go that. So shout out to my boy Wesley Taylor. I was fortunate enough to coach the Giltinis the development side during their game in Oxnard, and he's the only player I've ever seen get a yellow card in a trial match. And he was coming off, and he came off, and then we basically just threw another sub on because we were like, okay, we're not leaving 14 players on there. That's just ridiculous. And I came over and I was like, bro, love the passion. That was awesome. How the hell did you get a yellow card? Like it's a bloody trial match. And he was like, just too passionate. I just love the game too much. And I was like, sit your ass on the bench. There you go. See you later. But no, he was great. But okay, we'll move on to our second topic. It's going to be an interesting one because it's all about our favorite coaches. So coaching in this league, very integral part and aspect of the game to your team's success, especially depending on what type of game plan you're running. If you have crossover athletes in your squad, all of that stuff. So I want to hear from you guys on your top 3 coaches for the MLR this year, and going in order. I don't want to see any hedging bets. I don't want to see like, yeah, I like all these 3 guys. I want to see 3, 2, 1. I want to see them in order. So okay. I'm going to go first on this one. Then I'll get Scott, I'll get Cam, and then I'll get Walker in the mix to round us off. So my number 3 is Paul Healy from the Houston SaberCats. I don't know him personally, but I have a friend that was mentored by Paul, and he can never say enough about how knowledgeable of a coach he is. Was it Walker? You had Houston for your picks for the players, like saying how you don't know whether they're going to be a powerhouse or whether they're just going to fall off. I agree with that because I think Paul adds a lot to that mix. They have some very good players. I think they're going to be very, very good this season. And Paul's going to be the catalyst in that. So, yes, when you thought about that process, what was the main thing that you looked at them and went, I don't know why they're going to be a powerhouse?
Well, you look at their centers. You look at some line breakers. I don't know how dynamic their center group is. Mm-hmm. When you look at and I'll agree with you, and I think I'm leaning towards them being better than I anticipate for that exact reason. And you're stealing a little bit of my thunder here, but no, I like you look at a lot of these other rosters, and there's particular star power, there's particular pieces to their group, and you're like, this is a guy that I can rely on when I need to play, when I need to lead at the end of a game, or we're down 2 scores. We need somebody to take leadership. Obviously they've got good captains and Luke Beauchamp and DeWitt Roos. I think they have a good team, but I can't tell which way they're going to go. And I think it just mostly had to do with a little bit of that star power. If you look at the rest of these teams, there's somebody that you can say, this is a guy that I can rely on every game of the year, and he's going to be my playmaker. And I, whether it's a center pairing, whether it's a dynamic wing or fullback, and I'm not saying that they don't have a solid lineup, but I just don't see that star power.
Okay. All right. I won't steal any more of your Tropic Thunder. I'll let you keep it there. But I think the one thing that really, I guess, finalizes my thought is I think he's been a part of a lot of multiple international programs. So like he coached Uruguay, Chile, Brazil, and Germany. They're not the best rugby programs, but when he got there, he made them a lot better. So I also think early in his coaching career, I believe he coached at Stade Francais. So yeah, I think like you said, they aren't the most star-studded team. They're not the most talented team, but they've definitely got a lot of players that they can lean on and come up really handy in clutch time. But let's move on to my number 2 pick. I personally like Andrew Douglas from Old Glory DC. So Douglas, he's a coach from New Zealand. He's coached in the New Zealand school side, so he's got that I guess that grassroots feel to him. He's able to develop players that are coming through the young rugby system, but in a high performance way. And I disclaimer, I'm always going to be biased for someone who's from the Waikato, who's coached from the Waikato. So I love that he's got that experience, and he's also got some top league experience in Japan. So I think recruiting guys like Danny Tusitala and his coaching style provides him a great opportunity to make a splash this year with the squad. So very, very excited to see what they do. But for my number 1, people who think I'm going to play favorites, I'm wearing the shirt.
And you are.
Yeah.
And you are.
So yeah, I know, but still, I honestly think that Darren Coleman from the LA Guiltinis is going to provide a lot to the impact of this team in this league. So DC, he's got some great experience with Super Rugby and the Brumbies. He has a winning pedigree. He's won multiple titles in Shoot Shield, which is arguably one of the toughest premier grade competitions, not just in Australia, but in the world. So I think he's got that mentality. He's able to develop those players that are coming into the mix, and he knows how to deal with those, I guess, those high-paid players, the guys that have the Wallaby caps, so he can make that good balance. But I think me personally isn't his coaching overall that really puts him over the edges. I think it's just the support he's going to have around him. He's got assistant coaches in Stephen Hoyles, who's a former Wallabies player and a former Aussie Sevens coach, and Areni IE, man, like I can't say enough good things about him. He's a nice guy, and his experience when I watched him play, I think Huller was saying it on the weekend. He fangirled so hard when he saw him in person. He was sitting there going
fangirling.
Bro, no, seriously,
Why was
like
that
it was
on camera.
I think I was sitting there just like in amazement, just going, this guy isn't screaming or talking. He's actually being quiet, and he's just sitting there just staring at him. But no, man, like seriously, like Areni IE, when we were growing up and we were watching Super Rugby, and when he played for the Auckland Blues, everyone just shut up and watched. Like he destroyed places. But I think when it comes to his experience with elite rugby players back in their time and having guys who are exceptional coaches who are very knowledgeable in the game, that's a support system that you really crave as a head coach. You're able to delegate and focus on the things that matter week in, week out. So that's my 3. Yeah, I'm playing favorites. I don't care. I like DC. He's the man, and I really liked what he did in Shoot Shield. So
hey, as long as it's a straightforward advertisement for the Homer, as long as
there's nothing wrong with brand loyalty.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah, I gotta stick with my homies. There you go. But all right, Cam, you're up next. Who you got?
Well, I kind of struggled originally to see where I wanted to go with this, but I kind of took it in the direction of team culture. With just how young the league is, manufacturing team culture, and just, you don't have a team history or, a legacy to lean on. So manufacturing that culture is just incredibly important for these clubs, to get off on the strong start. And the ones that have gotten that culture manufactured are the ones that are already top of the table. So that's why I started with the 2-time defending champs, Seattle. Keys Lansing, from on the field, they have a very clear strategy. It's play lights out defense, we'll pin you back, let you make a mistake, and then capitalize on it. From from coming into the league, it's been very clear what their game plan is. They don't deviate from it, because when they're healthy and when they do it right, it works. And I think that isn't said enough about some of these clubs that are atop the table, being able to play their game and not have to deviate from it. So that's why he's my number 1. And just from a culture standpoint, everything I've heard about Seattle is that they are There's a reason why they don't have a high turnover. It's because of it starts with him, but then it trickles down of how good of a place that play is right now. And for a lot of the same reasons, I picked Chris Silverthorne with Toronto. His is a little bit different. Their style of play does have some versatility to it, but that works for them. But there's clearly a reason why these guys from Argentina and Uruguay are coming up there and playing, is because they're not coming up there just, for the fun of it. They're coming up there because there's a clear culture, there's a clear message to the players, and that's where they want to be. And then and on top of that, they're going to be the most dominant team in the East. At least year in, year out. I don't know about this year. I think playing away is going to be very difficult year round. So if they can get over home soon, they'll be beneficial to them. But same thing as Seattle. They've manufactured a culture very, very quickly that is pushed them to the top of the table. And this one is a little bit of a homerism, but it's a coach that Walker and I've actually played against, Nate Osborne down at NOLA. He coached in Metropolis, and every single year Metro had a very strong side. They would bring in players, but they would, get them up to speed very quickly. And, they were always bringing in these Fijians, Tongans, whatever they were, poly guys that, were just smashing us in the face. But they had they're always the team that came out punching the mouth first. And
that explains a lot, Cam and Walker, about why this looks the way it does.
But I think that goes to a good point, Cam. It's like, obviously you can do great recruiting for any team, but you still have to teach the guys your system. If you aren't a good coach and you can't explain to them the set piece of the game plan, just because you guys have a talented player, it doesn't work in uni. You've got to get a good solid setup going there to learn that set piece, to learn that game plan, and coaching it comes down to that.
Yeah, he was just always so good about getting, there's always, every year we'd go up there, they'd come down to Cincinnati and we'd play, and we wouldn't recognize half their squad, but they were more on the same page than R23, and we all play with each other year round. And that's just a testament to Osborne's ability to get guys on the same page.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll round it off with. Oh no, we still got two more. We got to go Walker, and then we got to go Scott. Get rid of Scott. Get rid of Scott.
Exactly. How would you forget about talking about LA?
Who knows? All right, Walker. Let's get us going.
Well, I will mimic most of you guys. I'll start 3-1, and number 3. I'll just kind of echo Cam and Nate Osborne, a guy that does a lot with a little down in New Orleans. They don't spend a ton of money in bringing in international guys. They have done a very good job of retaining young domestic talent. I think they're one of the few teams, at least, that publicize it and really promote signing guys for multi-year deals and lengthening just the foundation there. And I think for what he does with the resources around him, with the talent around him, I think NOLA is going to be a really good team this year. And I think a lot of it is a testament to what he does, to Cam's point, getting everybody on the same page, having a clear-cut, stylistic, and it's changed over the 2 years. But just seeing what he's done with the resources down there in NOLA, I'm really excited to see him again. And I think he comes in pretty solid at number 3. Number 2, Darren Coleman. I think TJ spot on. He brings the pedigree. He's got a phenomenal support system around him again, and I'll just kind of echo that. And then first, Paul Healy. I think almost identical to Nate Osborne. He does a lot with not as much, and for that reason, I really like what he's able to do. And this is where you're kind of stealing my thunder. I think the team itself is solid and pretty clean. Not anything that's star-studded, but because of Paul Healy, they're going to really compete in the West this year.
Yeah, it's I from everything that I've heard about Paul, I'm just so stoked to see what he's able to do with just homegrown talent. But then when you think about that, if he's able to get a couple of signings here and there that can really become focal pieces in their team, man, look out for Nola. I know Rob's cheering right now, so there we go. But big guy, give us your three. I really want to hear these ones.
So number 3 isn't as much as a homer pick as you would think.
I'm loving this homerism, by the way, though.
Yeah.
This is really good.
I mean, you know what you get with me. You put me on the show for a reason. But I think Marty Veal is going to be my number 3, and I'm going to tell you why. With the news that Greg McWilliams had to resign for personal reasons, shout out to Greg. He's a great dude. Love him. I consider him a friend. Marty Veal, from what I know, is stepping up into that role, and his experience is unique to set himself up to do well with New York. So here's the thing. Obviously, he was the assistant coach last year. What does that mean in 2020? Nothing really. But you have to realize he also coached Old Blue, and he was a former assistant coach at the United States Military Academy at West Point. So, and then his playing career professionally, Kubota Spears and then Wasps. So he ranges in player experience and coaching experience from the club level all the way to the tippy top. And that's everything that encompasses the squad that Rooney has. So I think he can relate to every player on that team because of that experience, whether he's played it or coached it. So I think him coming in and filling that role 2 weeks before the season starts puts him in a little bit of a disadvantage, but not as much as you would think. And I think he's going to shine. My second one was Nate Osborne. And the way I did my picks is I did it like by fit, like you guys were talking about. And Nate, if you look at his experience and what he's done, he gets those young players and he gets those guys and he makes them part of his system, and they buy into his system quite Nick Saban-like, and they've always performed. And that's the squad that Nola has. Nola cherry picks those big names and experiences. They don't have to always have big splashy signings, but they can grab a guy like Malcolm May, who somebody might overlook. Nate can bring him in, have him buy into the system, and all of a sudden they have a successful team, and you're like, where'd these guys come from? And then my last one might be breaking the rules because technically it's 2 head coaches, Scott Murray and Zach Test at Allegiant.
I'll let that go because I really like Zach Test. He's the man.
I think Legion really, they were like, we can't split the baby. Let's move them both up. I mean, they've both been there for a while. Mm-hmm. They both have different sets of experiences. Murray, obviously, I think, was he a player on the national team for Scotland for like 10 years? Like, he was a long time. His pro career. Yeah, his pro career was like extensive. Montauban, right? Saracens, Edinburgh, I think. And again, I think when you have all those guys on a team that have played at the tippy top level like they do, that San Diego does, you have to have a coach that's going to relate to them, and you have that in Scott Murray. And then you have the Zach Test side because they do have a lot of Eagles that they like to keep, and they like to, or guys that can be on the selection in a couple of years. So I think what you have in one coach in Marty Veal, you have in both coaches at San Diego in Test and Murray.
Mm-hmm. I think that the Zach Test part, like, he was one of the only players that I would go to sevens tournaments, and I didn't care if he was playing New Zealand. He just played so phenomenally well that I just wanted to see him do well. And obviously seeing him stepping away from the game because of head troubles with due to like multiple concussions and things like that was very disappointing. But obviously to see him, I watched him transition into the role with San Diego State. He was a great coach, especially in sevens, and provided a lot to that program. When we would go down and coach against him at Cal Poly, you would just see how much in a year the team grew so much. Loving seeing that he's getting an opportunity, and I kind of like the dual coach system. It's interesting. I haven't seen it too often, but when it happens, it's going to be pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, you see it like, to bring it back to football. I mean, you see it with a team like Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay, won the Super Bowl, but it was really their coordinators who handle a lot of the things. Todd Bowles and forgot who the offensive coordinator. I'm slipping, but you see that, and then you see Arians at the tippy top, and that's kind of the same thing San Diego's doing without having that tippy top coach.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's very true. I think every just to stay on that, it's every press interview, Arians would always go out and he would say, I'm so lucky to have these offensive coordinators or these trainers or these people in these positions. And that's what I was kind of talking about, is when you're having that that system where you're able to lean on your assistant guys so much, and they provide so much to your program, you're just able to focus on the big picture stuff, and you're able to keep going and just transition along. But I think we can all agree that these coaches are just making the MLR better and better and better every year. It's so good to see so much experience in the league, and I just can't wait for it to just continue on. But it's called the bonus point for a reason, and today we are going to talk about our favorite matches we are looking forward to the most. So we spoke about it a little bit in the beginning of the show. There's obviously some key rivalries in the league and their matches that you mark off on your calendar. But I want to hear from you guys what those matches are, whether it's one match or a couple of matches. So in reverse order, I'll start us off, and then we'll. I'll get Scotty to start us off, and then we'll go Walker, Cam, and I'll finish this actually. So Scotty. Is it Rooney? I'm pretty sure it's Rooney.
Yeah, I mean, obviously my number one is Rooney versus Free Jacks. I mean, this is what we've been waiting for. Until they get a team in Philadelphia, this is going to be the derby that most New Yorkers and most New Englanders look forward to.
Have you heard much about that? Do you think that Philly's going to get a team quite soon, you reckon?
Probably not. And the only reason being is I was there when Saracens played Falcons. And it was not that it was like pulling teeth, but it wasn't like when Saracens were playing London Irish in Red Bull Arena in New Jersey. It just, you just knew that, not that the scene wasn't there in Philly. They have a really good club scene. It's a little bit lower key, but I think the commercialization of it in that city is just not there yet. As opposed to maybe, having it in the Midwest, as the Hammer likes to tell me, we have to push the Midwest first to, stop that continental divide we have. But Rooney Free Jacks, Rooney's looking for revenge from that first game last season. That was the game of the week, and they got, I mean, they got bitch slapped pretty much. But I think going into it, it's a natural rivalry for sports. So that's one I'm looking forward to besides my homerism. I think there's one other I'm looking at, and this might just be because it's going to probably only be this year, is Toronto versus Atlanta. The battle for Atlanta. Who's going to win? Because technically, we should start calling them the Atlanta Arrows. Let's be honest. They're have had to move the whole operation down there. The alliteration's great. And they're going to be playing in one stadium. So let's see they should make a 1 year trophy just for this thing, because it's probably only going to be this is the year it's going to happen, and probably won't happen again. So I'd say Toronto and Atlanta up for some type of trophy.
I think that's what Rick said on the rugby rant. He was saying they should basically just rename the Legion the Las Vegas Legion, and then just call them those guys. But you know me, man. Like I'm if it wasn't for one of my mates signing for the New England team, I'm a proud New York sports fan. I love my Yankees. I love my Knicks, even though they have been doing terribly last year. They're doing well now. And then I'm a proud Giants fan, and they're in the worst division in football. It's very painful. Trust me. I know how much. Baby. Oh my God, it was terrible. But yeah, it's if it wasn't for my mate Seth Farsi signing for the New England team, I'd be all over that train. But sorry, bro. As soon as we get fans back in New York, I'm flying in there, and if it's the New England game, I'm supporting
I think Giltinis are coming. Giltinis are coming to New York, and they're gonna get their butt kicked.
I think so. But they're not gonna get their butt kicked. I'm coming for you. Nice. All right, Walker, let's go. Who you got?
First one's an early game: San Diego versus LA Giltinis, April 24th. SoCal battle. I think it's the new kid on the block versus one of maybe two most consistent teams in MLR right now. Star-studded matchup on both sides, plenty of firepower. I'm expecting a lot of big hits, a lot of kind of high-flying backline movements, and for an early game, a good test for an early game in the season, a good test for both teams. And then one that I'm really excited, and I think it's going to probably come down to the wire of probably dictating where both teams end up in playoffs, is Nola Gold and Rooney, July 17th. I think that's going to be two teams that again, both pretty physical teams that have really been pretty active in the offseason, adding good talent. Savetta is a big addition from New York, and obviously they've been able to retain guys like Brakely, Dylan Fawcett, Honko, and Foden, Will Leonard. These are just going to be two really good teams, and I've said enough about Nola, but I like Nate Osborne. I like the team that they've added. I think that's going to be a really, really good match late in the season, and it's going to dictate some playoff, or it's going to have some playoff implications.
And in 2019, that's exactly what happened. I think it was either it came down to Nola and Rooney and points and who was going to win. So I mean, I could definitely see that happening again.
Yeah. No, it's going to be a good one. All right, Cam, give it to us.
So I like the I kind of have two. The first one is Atlanta versus Nola. Just the regional rivalry. They pretty much, I mean, they've got their rival in every single sport, so it makes a lot of sense why they would inherently not like each other in rugby as well. But I think this is also going to be one. I think Nola's going to be a team that's, you know, up towards the top of the table. But Atlanta's a team that can challenge. I think they're probably right there. They're that I don't want to call it. I guess I'll call it a second tier. But if they play their cards right and win a few matches, people aren't expecting them to win. They could very easily find themselves as a 2 seed in the playoffs. I don't know that they have enough to push them to a 1, but I could definitely surprise some people making it to a 2. So the way this is going to be very, very monumental for what that Eastern playoff picture looks like. It probably, you know, has a good chance of deciding who falls in the number 2 slot. If it's not, you know, if Toronto and Rooney are battling out, I think there's that 2 spot that could be up for grabs right there. And my other one, this one I think is also going to be for the number 1 seed in the East is Toronto versus Nola. I think that is the matchup to watch, at least for the East. Those are the 2 teams that I think have had the most consistency. And I mean, Toronto's just got the deepest team in the league. And Nola, you know, they just continuously surprise teams, even though they're that team that they just finish matches, I should say.
Yeah, no, I'm actually pretty excited for that Nola one because just from everything we've been talking about, I'm very, very excited to see the type of gameplay that they're going to come out. They'll probably punch them in the mouth, but we'll see how we go. But for me, it's going to be a couple of LA matches, and obviously, and there's going to be. I actually am very excited to watch Toronto play New York. I want to see the Toronto matchup and how they're, I guess, acclimatizing to being down south and seeing how they come up and they try and battle Rooney. Because I believe was it the semifinal in 2019? Was that when they played? It was Toronto, New York.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That game for me, man, that just epitomized great MLR rugby. It was a great semifinal match. I really liked it. LA San Diego. I think that match. I love local derbies. Anybody who knows me, I love them so much. Back home or when teams like the Chiefs and the Blues play in Super Rugby, when they're an hour away, they're nice close ones. Although San Diego are based out of Las Vegas, I know it doesn't feel like a local derby, but it's going to be a good one. And I think the final one for me is going to be LA versus Rooney, bro. I'm very excited. May 8th. I'm coming for you, Scotty. It's going to be a good one. I do want to travel out there if they are allowing fans. I really do hope so because anybody who knows me, New York is my favorite destination. I go there every time I have my rituals. I go to my favorite places, and then Scotty can show me his favorite places. We had a conversation about favorite pizza joints, and then Rob getting in the conversation about how it's Chicago deep dish over regular, and me and Scotty were both looking at him like he was crazy. But that's for me, man. Like there's going to be so many matchups this season that I'm super excited about. But it's
I think we missed one though. You know, the Texas Cup. I mean, they're the only team that plays for hardware outside of the Shield. You know,
that's true. It's I think. The one for me is going to be the Gill game. So like the Gilchrist team. So it's going to be the Gill Gronies and the Giltinis. The Gill Cup. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, the Gill Cup,
I even like that name. That's good. I think I got a little bit of my fix last night watching the preseason matchup. Whoever was commentating on that video, he actually did really well. There was some guy who was hating a lot on the chat, going, yeah, we know it's a line out, you don't have to say it. And I was like, well, some fans may not know that it's a line out. They're still learning the rules.
That was the whole point. Yeah, that was the whole point of them commentating the way they're doing it. I think you're going to have to just deal with that when it comes to the in-game announcing. I think on the broadcast it's going to be a little different, but in-game announcing as people are coming, you know, we're trying to expand the league to new fans, and I'm a guy who's just going to have to deal with the in-game announcer bringing doing all the easy
Yeah.
stuff, and because I'm one of those guys too. Like I hear it, I'm like, oh, can't we just? But I understand it. You know what I mean?
It serves a purpose. It's something where you
Mhm.
sit there and you like, obviously as a rugby fan, you don't want to hear, okay, I'm getting for the 5th time today the specifics about the rules about scrummaging and lineouts and things like that. But it's when
there's rules about scrummaging.
oh man, no. Yeah,
No, there's only dark
I
totally.
didn't think.
Yeah, there's actually dark arts. I love when Walker talks about it. He's like, I love the dark arts. It's great. But I was watching, I think it was the 2nd season of MLR, and I was watching it on ESPN Plus with a guy who's never watched rugby, and he goes, "That's probably the best commentating I've ever heard in my life because I know everything that's going on." And I was like, "Really? Like that's great because that's very difficult in rugby when you don't have someone who understands the rules and the flow of the game." So, yeah. Super excited to see everything going, but that's us, gentlemen. I want to thank the big guy, Scott Ferreira, for joining us today. The Rugby Rant podcast has been killing it with their coverage of the MLR and everything American rugby. So don't forget to check out their podcast as well. We were speaking about it, I believe, the Rugby Rant, where I was guest dropped into the episode. They was live at 7 a.m. this morning. So check out all their social media platforms, Facebook, everything like that. Also, big thank you to Cam and Walker Tice from the Rugby Index. Same with you guys. If you guys know anything that's going on in the MLR, you guys are straight on the horn and getting people to know about it. So I'm really enjoying everything you guys are doing on the Rugby Index. Follow them on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Yes, they are on Facebook now. So guys, just get on that one. Set up those notifications. Yeah, you guys have evolved. Set up those
Next
notifications.
they'll be on TikTok. Watch out.
Oh yeah, I like that one. You'll be.
I'm still
you'll
trying
be
to figure
following
that one out myself. I don't know how soon we're going to be able to make it.
You
You'll
don't
be
want to
following.
I'll tell you that much.
You'll be following Nicole Heverland because her and the girls from the USA Rugby Eagles, they've been doing some funny ones, bro. If you guys want to check that out, it's funny.
They're really funny.
Oh man, but okay, so I'm gonna get you guys final thoughts. Scotty, any final thoughts before we let you go?
Just be open. It's stop the hate. I see a lot of people just hating on names, on teams, on this, on that. This is what it is. This is what we got. Embrace it, love it, and you'll enjoy the season.
I love the hippie love. We're gonna spark a doobie in a second. We just said this kumbaya, my lord. Okay,
Cali, man. Not everybody.
Yeah. All right, Walker. What do you got? Final thoughts, man.
Well, I do love Scott's sentiment. It makes me feel warm. And he's right. This is what we got. We got to embrace it. We got to love it. We got to cherish it. We got to nourish it and keep it growing. But no, I'm excited for rugby to be back. It's been a rough year for so many people in so many different ways. To see the league push through, to see the league last year do the right thing, pay the players, for them to continue pushing through just the animosity, or not the animosity, but just the tribulations of the year. There's a lot of leagues that folded that maybe had a little bit more foundation than MLR, and so for them to just figure out a way, doesn't matter what it is, might be a little bit smoke and mirrors, might be a little bit of duct tape and WD-40, but figuring out a way to get it done, and it's
the American way. WD-40.
There is nothing more American than WD-40
and duct tape. Yeah, it fixes everything, bro. That and Windex. If you can't get it done with those three things, you're probably out of loss.
That's the Greek way. It fixes everything.
Yeah, we're a melting pot of
that is true. That is true. I will give you that.
But no, I mean, what Scott said, I'm excited for it to be back. It was a boring, bland year without rugby, and we're back, baby. We're back.
Yeah, we are back. We are back. Yeah, let's do it. Cam, round us off. What do you got?
Taking it in a slightly different direction. I just hope this year the league becomes more intricate with the way they handle things. Right now, they're not very transparent with the players and just the way some of their business is being conducted. I hope there's more transparency coming in the future. I think that's ultimately, very important to the viability. And that's what American fans want, is they want to have that visibility into how the players are signed, how the roster construction is done, all that sort of stuff. And I think it's moving the right way. I think a big part of that is I hope we can get a players union off the ground soon. And that ultimately will be great for the league, even though they might not necessarily agree at this point. But
it challenges them to be better.
Yeah, there needs to be some sort of challenge to the league and have a voice, a group, a centric voice for them. So as I'm getting very congested and sentimental, and I spent 2 hours outside this morning. It's not even allergy season. I'm wrecked.
I feel you on that one. I spent 20 minutes getting chased around by a rooster, and no, that isn't a rooster booster tag. That's
Can we stream that?
I'll just create a TikTok channel on the bonus point, just all because of the rooster, and then the final one for the channel will be me eating it, and my girlfriend.
We actually had a rooster in 2019 named Ben Foden. That was our mascot.
Are you freaking? Oh my god!
Shout out to my boy Jason Zimmerman. He lives out in Western Pennsylvania. He would drive 4 hours to go to Rooney home games. I would help him out with tickets, and I actually met him through the Saracens fan club. And then he was like the closest team to him is Rooney. He's like, I want to go, and he has roosters and chickens, and he named one Foden, and that was the lore.
Man, there doesn't go a day where that rooster doesn't peck my legs or like get my hand is bleeding because it just like wants to kill me. So yes, I will get videos of that. We will get it, and then I'll get the final video of me eating it, and it's going to be awesome. It's going to feel like I'm eating my enemy. It's cool. But thank you so much, guys, for joining. Oh yeah, a lot of mana in that, bro. I need to have mana. But big thank you to our sponsors, Whalebird Kombucha. Got the growler here, best kombucha on planet Earth. It is amazing. And also Macro Butter and OsteoStrong LA. Big thank you to all the people who live streamed this episode. We are excited to be back. We can't wait to cover all the MLR. Check out the Rugby Rant podcast and the Rugby Index. Boys, thank you very much. We will see you soon. Have a good day, guys.
Cheers.
Thanks.
Thank you.